Hello and welcome back to the Eyes of O Gaming channel. Thank you for joining me as we investigate another older game in the What Is It and Is It Worth It game review and showcase series. During the review, I will try my best to stay objective and as spoiler-free as possible as we go over the various aspects of the game, such as mechanics, graphics, and sound, as well as giving a general idea of the world the game takes place in. I won't be giving a number rating to the game, as I find number rating systems to be very arbitrary considering the subjective nature of video games. Instead, I'll try my best to give enough information that you can decide for yourself if the game is worth it for you. If you are interested in a more subjective look, stay to the end of the video for my personal recommendation of if I would recommend the game, and if I actually enjoyed it with a simple yes, no, or sometimes a maybe, and a short explanation of why or why not. You've fought Nazis in video games before? I've fought Nazis in video games before. I'm sure we've all fought Nazis in video games before. But have you ever fought Nazis in a video game that takes place in the United States? Today we're taking a look at Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. This game was released back in 2017, so it does have a few years on it now. It was developed by Machine Games and published by Bethesda Softworks. This entry is a sequel, being a direct sequel to Wolfenstein The New Order, which I have actually covered on the channel previously. Keep in mind that although I will do my best to avoid story spoilers in this game, there could be some story spoilers from The New Order. So if you prefer to start with that one, or are interested in it, I have links to that review in the description or on screen if that is popping up for you. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, going over the mechanics and various other aspects of the game to see if it still holds up today, and try to answer the most important question asked in this review series. Is this one worth it for you? Let's get into it. In terms of plot, well, it is a Wolfenstein. If you've played one in the more recent versions of the franchise, you'll probably be familiar with the story structure. If not, it's essentially an alternate world history where the Nazis won the war. On top of that, the franchise infuses all kinds of sci-fi and fantasy elements, which help in telling the story of how the alternate world came to be. This one will feel a little different in terms of the story than the previous ones, as I found it to be a lot less dark and serious. This time around, it feels more like killing Nazis with Blazkowicz and the boys from the squad, just for some laughs, rather than the serious undertones that previous releases had. It's not completely ludicrous storytelling like something out of a Saints Row style game, just noticeably lighter and more relaxed than previous games. Mechanically, there's nothing really that groundbreaking here, very similar to previous Wolfenstein. The game is a first-person shooter that incorporates a substantial amount of storytelling into the game. If you like simple run-and-gun shooters, this is not that. The story is crucial to enjoying the game, and there are a lot of cutscenes which really seem to play on for a long time in some sequences. Buttons are mapped a little bit different than some other mainstream first-person shooters, but nothing too unorthodox, and it's pretty easy to get accustomed to it. Aside from the standard first-person action and story-driven gameplay, stealth has returned as an important factor in the game. Just like previous titles, taking out commanders is to your benefit, and you get treated with some nice melee stealth kill cam action. Graphics are really quite good and hold up well today. There's not too much that I can be too critical of, although for a big chunk of the game, the environments are going to feel rather repetitive. There are a few varied locations with some neat aesthetic, however these are typically just special missions or story points, and the bulk of the game will take place in a very familiar style of setting. One key difference from previous releases is that for the most part you'll be playing in an occupied United States, which will offer a unique style to the game from previous, mostly European settings. NPCs all look pretty good, and the combat animation is done well. I also didn't run into any graphical glitches or any bugs at all really during playthrough. So unique features that set this one apart? Well, it's pretty much a standard Wolfenstein experience. The location is really the big difference from previous titles. There is a new Uber Commander hunting set of side missions built into the game, Essentially, it works that when you kill commanders during the standard main campaign playthrough, you can collect Enigma codes from their bodies. When you return to the home base between campaign missions, you have the option to use the Enigma codes to hunt down Uber commanders. This essentially boils down to returning to previously visited areas to hunt down and assassinate mini-bosses. Personally, I didn't find much appeal in this. As in a game like Wolfenstein, which is mostly all about the story, this felt like a make-work project side mission built in unnecessarily. If you really like to have additional tasks to drag out the length of the game to get your money's worth, this might have some appeal to you, or if you're the completionist type. But I just personally didn't see the point. Sound is really good as always in Wolfenstein. Dialogue is well written and well delivered, though as I mentioned previously, can definitely feel less serious and a little more goofy than previous titles. Weapon and combat noises all sound great, and the soundtrack is amazing as always. No complaints here, and if you enjoyed the music from previous Wolfenstein games, you'll probably like this one as well.
Like they taught us back in boot camp. Take out the commanders first.
Schicken Sie Kampf! Kommandant! Hallo! Kommandant Mannheimer!
So what do I compare this one to? Well, obviously the previous Wolfenstein games. I have covered other Wolfensteins on the channel, as well as the prequel to this particular title. I also covered The Old Blood, which was a more horror-related title and definitely felt a lot darker than this one. Outside of the franchise, you can look to other fantasy sci-fi style first-person shooters. Something with a similarly deep story emphasis would be the BioShock series. The dark vibe fit more with The New Order and The Old Blood, but it does still have a similar style. I also found that the game Prey does have a similar feel to Wolfenstein. Obviously, Prey does have a lot of differences considering the emphasis on exploration, and it's a different style of setting. But the involved story elements mixed in a first-person shooter does have a really common vibe with this one. So now that we've looked at some of the features of the game, we reach the point of my review where I give a more subjective look at my personal experience with it. Please keep in mind that the following is just my opinion of the game, and if the features and genre seem interesting to you, you should definitely check it out for yourself, as not all games are for all gamers. The game that you hate might be the next gamer's all-time favorite, which is one of the things that I love about gaming. There's always something for someone out there. Did I enjoy Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Well, yeah, it was a good game. Enjoyable, interesting story, and fun gameplay mechanics. I personally felt the story is weaker in this one than previous releases, and I didn't really like the change in tone, but it wasn't so drastic to put me off the game. I just hope that this isn't a trend the series pursues though, as I would prefer a return to a more typical Wolfenstein feel, but we can only wait and see where the developers take the series. If you like first-person shooters but also enjoy compelling story and don't mind watching a ton of cutscenes to get it, this one could be a really good option for you. If you're more of a Call of Duty or mainstream first-person shooter gamer, this might have a pace that can feel a little slow, but with an open mind it can probably still be quite enjoyable, as the combat can be very fast-paced. On a side note, I did find the difficulty to be rather sporadic in this go-around. I played through The New Order on the hardest difficulty and found it to be a challenge, but definitely doable with persistence. This time, it was kind of all over the place. In some areas, it would feel much easier than The New Order, though in others, you almost need a lucky break just to survive to the next checkpoint. I actually had to turn down the difficulty about halfway or so through just to get through the entire game and have an enjoyable experience, though this is going to be totally dependent on your own personal skill level. Keeping in mind I generally rate myself as an upper mediocre first-person shooter gamer, so take that as you will. So I hope you enjoyed this look at Wolfenstein 2 The New Colossus. Did you agree with my own assessment of the game, or maybe you had some disagreements? Please let me know down in the comments what you thought. If you haven't played this game and we're using this to decide whether or not it's right for you, I'd like to hear that as well. And if you did end up picking up the game, come back and tell me what you thought of it. Also, please consider giving the video a like if you did find it interesting or entertaining, and think about subscribing to the channel. I post a variety of gaming content, not just game reviews, but also Let's Play, mod showcases, bug fixes, and more. I'd be very happy to have you join the community and help direct the future of the channel. Otherwise, thank you so much for taking the time to watch today, and until next time, take care.